G'day everyone, I'm Hayden Heta, Managing Director for Wamarra, proud Wurundjeri man and former Chair of the Symal Reconciliation Action Plan Committee. National Reconciliation Week is an opportunity to reflect on where we've come from, acknowledge the work still to be done, and consider the role each of us can play in building stronger relationships between Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and the wider community. At Symal Group, our formal reconciliation journey started about 6 years ago with the launch of our first Reflect Reconciliation Action Plan. Since then, we've worked hard to turn our commitment into action through cultural awareness training, community partnerships, cultural events, employment pathways and opportunities for our people to learn, connect and grow. This year's National Reconciliation Week theme, All In, is a reminder that reconciliation belongs to all of us. It isn't a responsibility of one person, one team or one business. It's something we achieve together through listening, learning, having meaningful conversations and taking action. In previous years, we've acknowledged Reconciliation Week through events such as Welcome to Country and smoking ceremonies, cultural tours and community gatherings. This year we wanted to do something a little different. Today we're hearing directly from some of our people who have participated in the cultural awareness training delivered by Siona James from Indigenous Cultural Connections. Through these sessions, our teams have explored Australia's shared history, gained a deeper understanding of Aboriginal culture and perspectives, and reflected on what reconciliation means in their own lives and in the workplace. I'm looking forward to hearing their experiences, the lessons they've taken away, and why creating a culturally safe, inclusive and respectful workplace matters to all of us. Alison, I'll start with you. Have you participated in cultural awareness training in the past? And can you tell us or provide some context of the importance of cultural awareness training for a company like Symal?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Hayden. So I actually haven't participated in that type of training at any point in my career. So my first thought was I was really grateful that was something that Symal does for our team members. Even though I've been in and around some of this work, given the nature of my role, it's the first time I've seen it done with broad cultural awareness training across the group. So it was a moment for me to be thankful that we were doing that. And of course, really important because it's a core part of diversity and inclusion across the business. And our team at Symal are a broad community. So it's really important that we understand all elements and all of our team members and also the communities that we operate in. Being a construction business, it's really close to the heart of what we do.
Yeah. Bree, I might just ask an extension of that question. Yeah. From an industry perspective, understanding you are quite new into your career, do you see the value of cultural awareness for, I guess, some of the new entrants into construction?
Yeah, absolutely. I think starting a new industry is a new culture in and of itself. And so having specific cultural awareness really helps put into perspective the industry that you're working in and helps provide a sense of surety that everyone within that industry is going to be respected and supported. So even if you're not part of the culture that is being taught in that training, having that training makes you more aware that the business and the industry as a whole is becoming more aware of other cultures and far more supportive of them.
Dean, was there a takeaway for you, like something that you thought about when you got home or something that you just challenged the way that you had considered Aboriginal history and culture?
Yeah, I think what was really good for me is often training like that can be stuck behind a computer screen and you're ticking through and clicking check boxes as you go that, you know, A, B, C, multiple choice. But to have a half day dedicated to it, to have it done really authentically, we got to sit in there as a group, have those discussions, get the history to come alive and get some anecdotes, but then also present day anecdotes around, you know, this is what is still happening. This is what is happening in the community I'm in. This is a story from last week, from yesterday. It's not in a history book at high school. This is real and this is going on and this is how we approach it. with some really good lessons. So having that whole half day dedicated and being able to bounce was really beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brian, one for you. I reflect on the sessions that I've sat through, and it can come across quite confronting, I guess, some of the content within the training itself. Did you have any moments where you felt uncomfortable, and maybe to the question I asked Dina, like giving you a new perspective?
Yeah, definitely. Coming from overseas, I didn't learn anything about Aboriginal history, so it was very confronting to see both what has happened and what is continuously happening. So I found it was really helpful to get that perspective. And then one of the things I took away from it, I'm very close to the legislation. So around, cultural heritage management and that type of legislation, but this actual training humanizes it, brings it back down to what does this actually mean to the community? And it's not just a legislative requirement that I think about.
I think just on that, other impacts directly is, kind of getting home that night and reflecting on all the stories of, this is what happened to families, this is what happened to kids, this is what happened to parents. And, looking at my two girls and going, wow, if I'd been in those shoes and someone came and did that at the front door, how would I react? And that was pretty powerful takeaway when you got home.
And you mentioned, the thought of what we were taught at school in history. For someone of my generation, we weren't taught this history at school. So despite what I've been able to educate myself around over the last number of years, having that historical insight was really powerful, but making it really personal. And as Dean said, that's still happening in the present day and what the impact of that is.
I think in the training as well, it showed that no matter, if you're seemingly an expert in this, there's still more to learn. So it kind of opened the door for people who may not have learned anything previously. So it was felt very flat, as in everyone's on the same level.
Yeah, it's about being curious and wanting to learn. You don't have to be an expert. You just need to be part of that conversation.
We have a huge emphasis around not only celebrating Aboriginal culture, but acknowledging some of the past injustices, if you like, hence the reason why we do the cultural awareness training. But for us, it's much more than that. If you're thinking about our industry, what would the message that you would share the industry and other businesses similar to Symal, as they embark on their reconciliation journey?
Don't be, nervous about the confrontation, the, maybe harder conversations that need to be had or harder reflections that need to be had, because ultimately what that's going to bring you is growth and becoming better. If you just try to ignore it or sweep it to the side, it's just going to fester.
Reconciliation involves everyone. You might think that your business isn't a part of it because you don't employ any Indigenous workers or you don't work with any Indigenous businesses, but it expands so much more just beyond yourself. It expands to the community that you operate in, to the country that you operate within, and so starting this journey is putting you in a better position within that community.
And I think bringing it to the broader group and making it live and making it real, and as you've talked about with Wamarra and getting away from black cladding and ticking boxes and all those sorts of things, actually doing something real. And some of those stories you tell that are really powerful. First, individual in their generation to buy a house and all those sorts of things. That's real. That's tangible. That's not. I'd tick the box because the infrastructure form told me I need to do things to win a job. There's a much bigger piece there and actioning that.
Yeah, I think extending from what Bree's saying, it's a responsibility of all of us. Reconciliation doesn't belong to an Indigenous cohort or a non-Indigenous cohort. It is really about coming together and doing it together.
And I think that concept that we've all got a role to play, and you talked about community, and all businesses, the license that businesses have to operate is to operate in their community. And it's important that we understand all the elements of that.
This year's theme, All In, what does that mean to you? If we think about Symal and what we stand for as a group, where there are multiple businesses, but we all band together, we all complement each other, we all support each other, what does All In mean in the essence of reconciliation?
For me, yes, there's a very natural meaning of that around a group, everyone in the group being in, but it's more than that. It's that whole journey. It's not just one week. It's every moment, every decision, having the consideration and care to be thinking about reconciliation and that part we can all play, be it small or large. And that's what all means.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of, walking the walk, actually following through with what we say. Too often you see people just like to say nice things, but don't actually follow up with actions. Whereas here, with Symal, the group definitely takes it all into consideration, and the vertical integration of all the different businesses is not just smart business, but it is a good community building and resilience, and which makes Wamarra so successful is it has that support as well.
Yeah. And I think it's about considering that nothing you do is in isolation. The acts that we're taking, it's not just having an impact within the business and across all of the businesses. It's having an impact in the wider construction industry and then within the wider businesses across Australia, and having that good step forward and showing other businesses around how to make that impact so that we can all make that impact.
I've had some personal text messages from people that have attended the course just saying things like, that was incredibly impactful, that was the most impactful training that I've done, etc. Did you share some of your experiences with either your friends, your colleagues, your family when you got home? Maybe you can share some of that.
Absolutely. I have a friend and he's from Zimbabwe, and one of the things that I found really impactful was talking about the different family structures and the way that you consider family may not be the same as the way someone else does. And his family structure is similar to the one that we learnt about in the training, and just talking with him about that and the way that changed the way that he views the area that he works in. And he was like, I could work somewhere that considers the fact that my family doesn't look like theirs and what that would look like in a business for him, and just this new little benchmark that he didn't know to look for of just, I might be able to talk to someone and say, hey, my family looks different than yours. How does that look at this business?
What's one thing that you hope people watching this will take away from the conversation?
For me, it's a little bit of the discussion that we've already had, but everyone's got a role to play. It's no one person, one community, one group, and you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to know everything, but being curious, asking, wanting to understand. I was really fortunate for the session that I attended that I had a couple of great young Wamarra team members literally sat next to me. So it was those moments in between the session where I could have a chat to understand more about their journey and their history. So that concept of be curious, want to learn, that's what will make a difference.
For those who haven't done it, make sure that you do go and do it firstly. For those that have done it and have done it a while ago, maybe just reflect on what you did learn then and whether there's worth a conversation on your takeaways from it. And then just make sure, the things you've learned in that room, that they're coming out now day to day, meaningful and being applied, and you're thinking about it and what you're doing day to day, not just in a classroom and then sort of walk out and forget it.
I think understanding the broader impacts of reconciliation and cultural awareness training, it's not just about the people in that room, the people in that business. It's not just about that community that you're learning about. It impacts everyone, regardless of whether or not they identify with the community that you're learning about. Everyone will benefit from reconciliation, and it's something that we should all want to work towards for that broader impact and for those broader positives that we can all experience. It's not, well, why should I care because I'm not a part of that, I don't work with them, those sorts of things. It's going to have a bigger impact across everywhere. There isn't going to be anyone that's not impacted by reconciliation and their lives won't be improved by it.
I would say continuous improvement. I mean, we can always keep getting better. I think Dean, you kind of touched on it. I took it a very long time ago when I first started with Symal. And it's not the first cultural heritage training that I've been in. So it's always continuously to improve and to keep it at front of mind. It's easy for what we do to get blinders on and think, deliver the project, move on to the next one, deliver the project. But then to start thinking, how does this impact the wider community that we're working in? Not just impacts during construction or operations, but what's the legacy that we're leaving behind? Yeah. And how does that improve the areas that we work in?